Your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you transformation, inspiration, and leadership. Thanks for making us part of your day. By the way, you can join us on Twitter. We'd love to have you join in on the conversation. We have a lot of things going on there. You can hit us up at Dan_Kuschell. That's DAN_KUSCHELL. Or hit us up on email at info@growthtofreedom.com. I have a question for you. Have you ever thought to yourself, wow, I'd love to do something spectacular. I'd love to do something extraordinary for me, for my family. Well, guess what? We have a gentleman who makes fantasies come true. You ever see that show as a kid? I remember one of my favorite shows as a kid. I used to go to my grandma's house, and I think it was on Friday nights, and there was a show called Fantasy Island. There was a guy named Mr. Rourke and a little midget called Tattoo, and they used to make fantasies come true. Well, the gentleman that I've got today is a guy who comes from a blue-collar background and has looked at things uniquely different. And he's a guy who basically creates parties for people and ultimately makes those fantasies come true. He's the visionary founder of a concierge service for high-level celebrities, entrepreneurs called Bluefish, delivers entertainment services, parties. If you can dream it up, he can make it happen. And today we're going to talk about how this applies to you. And one of the most important things I want to talk to him about is how do you get the attention of bigwigs, celebrities, high-profile athletes, people who are in the media. Well, he's got a unique approach to be able to do that. And he says, you know what? Don't send fancy videos and long drawn-out professional emails. There's a different way, and I'm proud to introduce you to my friend and someone I've known for 3 years through Joe Polish, Steve Sims. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, but I'm not sure I can live up to that intro.
Well, hell, I didn't even get into the good stuff. You're a philanthropist. You're a leader. You're a I mean, you have a unique background. And I know you came from humble beginnings. I remember you talking in one of the interviews I listened to in prep for our show today. You talked about the fact that you got fired from being a stockbroker. So, you've had these humble beginnings. So talk about who is Steve Sims so everybody can get a perspective that I've gotten.
Who is he? Well, he's an overweight, 230-pound lump of ugly. I'm a British guy. The only thing I'm qualified to do is construction work. My family owned a construction firm, which consisted of my mum and dad. That's how big it was, and me. And I just didn't want... I was one of these kids that didn't want to settle. And I wanted something better, and I didn't want to get dirty every day. And, like everyone, as you were just quoting, you watch the movies, you watch the TV, and I just wanted something better. So I just applied for everything. I applied for chef's jobs. I applied for, just a ton of things. And one of them was a stockbroking job. And they were doing a major recruitment from London over to Hong Kong. I managed to talk my way into this job. I landed on the Saturday and I was fired on the Tuesday. So that was probably one of the shortest careers ever.
Yes. And I remember hearing, again, in the interview I was listening to recently, you said that, after a few whiskey shots and go, oh my God, what is this? For you, it was a breakthrough. Talk about that a little bit in your learning experiences with some of those setbacks that you've turned into breakthroughs.
I don't think in the early stages of my life, I ever saw them as a setback or as a failing. I always looked on it as kind of like, oops, all right, what now? And it was an instant reaction. If anyone out there has ever done any boxing or any kind of Muay Thai or MMA or something like that, you get a slap in the head. You don't think about it. You defend, you react. And I just had this mentality that as I had nothing to lose, I couldn't get, and this was rude for me to think at the time, I thought as a bricklayer in East London, that was the lowest ebb I could get. Now I'm wrong, and I've grown to realize how wrong I was, but at that time I thought I had zero to lose. So everything I tried and failed, it was a case of, oh, well, gave that a shot, what next? And most of my stories start with, well, I was drinking a whiskey. So, that's kind of been my bedfellow since a young age. And I would just go and try different things. And I remember my dad was not the most wordy guy in the world, and certainly no motivational speaker. But I remember him saying one thing to me, and it's probably been the thing that I've learned all the way through my life and remembered. He said, no one ever drowned from falling in water. They drowned by staying there. And every time something went wrong, even today, I go, oh, well, I've just learned how not to do something.
Yep.
And that's just been ingrained in me that I've never failed at anything. I just educated myself in a million ways to do something the wrong way.
Oh, that's such brilliant advice, Steve. And obviously, as you're watching or listening, you can hear this deep Brooklyn accent that he's got, right? And, I'm kidding, obviously. Tell everybody where you're from, Steve, so they have an instant context.
Well, I was born just outside of London, a place called Reading. I've been south of London pretty much all of my younger years. Then I went to Hong Kong, and then I kind of traveled around Asia, bumbling around between different jobs before I started getting into this kind of concierge life and this fixer.
Yes. And I have a quick question because I know some people are saying, is that Arnold Schwarzenegger on the line or you're listening to? So if you and Arnold Schwarzenegger got into a fight right now, who would win? I'm just curious.
Well, he's a big, strong guy, but he's not known as a fighter. So, I wouldn't be as scared as if I was getting in the ring with Rousey or someone that was a trained fighter.
Yes.
But, put it this way, again, being stupid enough, I'd give it my best.
And by the way, if you're watching or listening, Steve also is a UFC champion, if I'm not mistaken, right, Steve?
Actually, no, that's not right. I was a kickboxing champion. I wasn't MMA. I'm too big to be rolling around on the floor, so I was Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Awesome. So you have an incredibly diversified background. One of the things as I was listening to another interview that you were doing, you talked about how you used to, push people out when they'd come to your parties, come to your events that you would host. And, if they were snobby or too uptight, you'd turn them away. But if they had this cool name, which ultimately became the Bluefish, right, which is your high-level concierge, if they were cool enough to just say Bluefish, that was like code name that you're in. So talk about that, the mindset of like fun and being light on your feet. I mean, you're a guy who lives life to the fullest all the way. And so talk about that a little bit and your mindset around it.
Well, we got to put it in context first. And anyone that's listening to this has realized that they're not talking with the sharpest tool in the shed. I've got where I've got 9 times out of 10 by just going through the wall rather than finding a door. When I got fired in Hong Kong, I had no job. And I got asked if I would work on the door because, I was a big, ugly, strong fella. So I did. So I started doing door work, and I had this delusional concept that the only reason that you could get a job as a stockbroker was because you knew rich people. So I started to throw parties and invite entrepreneurs, expatriates, rich people that were in the papers, and I started to invite them. But I thought to myself, if I build up a Rolodex of cool, rich people, and the big word there was cool. It wasn't actually rich, it was the cool aspect. I wanted people to know how to have a laugh. And I've always, even today, I've had the chug test. Okay, and everyone can have this. You think about your clients, your vendors, your team, anyone in your family, anyone in your life. If you're walking down the street and you see them, would you want to go and chug a beer with them or chug a whiskey? Would you want to go and have a drink with them? And if you can say to yourself, oh, God, no, I'd want to avoid that person, then get that person out of your life. And I thought to myself, if I start like that easy, then if I can get on with them, I haven't got to be anything I'm not. Now, you've met me. I am who I am.
Yep.
There are people that don't like me. That's fine. There are people that do like me, but no one misunderstands who I am. There's no possible area of confusion with me.
Yeah, and anybody that doesn't like you, Steve, is just a plain idiot.
Thanks. I'll remember. That's going to go on my business card now, if I had one. So so what we did was this was a huge, overly thought-out process. We used to send someone where the location of the party was going to be, and then I would send them the password. And the password would usually have something that you'd have to research. It'd be things like, name the lion from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or name 2 of the Teletubbies. And the third most popular password we used to use was, finish this sentence. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish.
Bluefish.
So, yeah, people would literally walk up to the door, and we took over yachts, we took out penthouses. It started off with little bars, but ended up taking over massive yachts, and, it really did get larger and larger. And there'd be me and this fellow on the door, 2 meatheads, and this guy would come up there with his girlfriend or something, and he'd lean into us and he'd go, Tinky Winky Po. Or he'd say, Bluefish. Or he'd say, go on in, mate, have a good time. And you'd get these morons who would just turn up, try to look all pompous, and they'd go, I'm here for the party. And we would say, sorry, mate, there's no party here. And the windows are dancing with lights and everything's going crazy and you can hear the music belting out and people are laughing. And it'd be like, I'm here for that party. No. And I'd look over and I'd, hey, Colin, do you know about a party tonight? No, I don't know about any parties tonight, mate, Steve. I don't know. And we would just blank the guy, and then he would scuttle off all kind of like, pissed off that he got dressed up with his date and wasn't being let in. And then the next person would come up and I'd go, Bluefish. And we'd say, hey, go and have a good time. And we'd let him in. So it was just a simple filter that if you weren't comfortable and confident enough and humble enough just to have a giggle, just to get into a party, you really weren't the person we wanted to play with.
That's awesome. And you know what? As you're watching or listening, I mean, there's so many great lessons here, from the idea that you don't drown from falling in the water, you drown from staying in the water. It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you stay down. So just get back up. And Steve's, idea, so what? What next? The idea of, hey, laugh a little bit. Have a little bit of fun. You know what? When we come back, we're going to talk about some of Steve's strategies of how he opens these doors to celebrities, high-profile people. I know a direct friend of mine, he set up the ability to meet Donald Trump, set up the ability to sing with Journey, and a whole lot more. We're going to share that more with Steve Sims on growthtofreedom.com right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. I have a question for you right now. What would happen in your life if you were able to open the door to more adventure? What if you had the ability to learn strategies to be able to know how to open the door to meet celebrities, high-profile people, to be able to become the gatherer, if you will, or the super connector? Well, the gentleman I've got with us today is of uglysims.com. I want you to go visit his site because it'll give you a whole new context of what can happen in your life when you know who to apply it to and what to apply. And he's a guy who comes from humble beginnings, a bricklayer, has been able to basically become someone who throws great parties. And then he realized it's not the party that matters, it's who you set up the party for. So he built a Rolodex, and he can show you how to be able to do the same thing or help you make your fantasies come true. I mean, for example, one of my good friends, Dean Graziosi, wanted to meet Donald Trump and his kids. Well, Steve and his company at Bluefish.com were able to make that happen. One of our Genius Network members, Dan and his brother, Dan Fitzpatrick, right, Steve?
Yep, that's right.
Yep, Dan wanted to sing with Journey. Now, it was the shortest stint, I imagine, of someone singing with Journey, but nonetheless, he made that happen, a private setting with him. He had someone sitting at the foot of the, at the museum. It was the Michael D'Angelo, right? Closed the entire museum to have dinner for 6, if I'm not mistaken. He's been able to send people on. I mean, if you can imagine it, and hell, if you can't imagine it, he can make it happen too, as long as you've got the ability to afford it. So at the end of the day. So Steve, you've been able to do all these incredible things. So to put it in perspective for our viewers, our listeners, and then we'll come to more about what the Bluefish can do for people. What advice would you give people as far as opening doors, meeting these high-profile people? I mean, what is your strategy to make that happen? And, really, I mean, from Clinton to, these high-profile museums, celebrity athletes. I mean, how do you build these relationships? What's your techniques?
Well, there's a couple of things in there that you've mentioned, and I've been trying to make sure that they are pinned so I can answer them. The first thing you've got to do is get rid of all of that clothes, shield, and business card. They're not famous. They're not celebrities. If you go to a celebrity thinking they're a celebrity, you're already on the wrong plateau. You're not on a level playing field. Okay? So the first thing is just to bring them down to the fact that this is a man, this is a woman, this is a person who you would like to meet. The next question needs to be, how does it benefit them?
How does it benefit them?
Them. Yeah, you know how it benefits you.
Yep.
In your eyes, this person's the person who's holding the key to the door. This is the person who's got an idea for you. This is the person who's been successful with design. You know what's in it for you. That's why you desire to meet them. But how does it benefit them? Now, don't overcomplicate things. That's probably my key to all of this. Stop complicating and stop showing polished items, okay?
Yep.
We want you to get real. We want you to get authentic. We want you to be ugly on it. So if you know a guy is into Porsche, you want to meet someone, and you know that they're into Porsche racing cars, all right? And you find a magazine or book on Porsche, rip a page out, send them that page, and go, hey, Dan, I'd really like to take 20 minutes of your time. I've got a few questions that I want to ask you. You're probably going to want to know what's in it for you. Well, if you like the page I've included, let us meet, and I'll give you the rest of the book.
That's great.
Just something that's a little bit funny like that. You may, and it could be the daftest thing. I see that you like wine, okay? So I've got a beautiful little book on the best wines and pick somewhere abstract. Ukraine. Let's get together. The book's yours. And another one, I know Joe does this. Send them $5. I like the idea of sending them money. That's nice. But send them a Starbucks coffee and say, hey, I paid for the coffee ahead of time. Now let's meet.
That's great.
Now what you mustn't do, and I've seen this done, I spoke at an event a while back, and this guy turned around and said, oh, yeah, I heard about this, and I knew this guy was a traveler, so I sent him a set of luggage. I said, well, how much did the luggage cost you? He said, well, this guy was really important, so, it cost me $1,500. That was just ridiculous in so many different ways, okay? You don't want to try and send someone something expensive. You want to send something thoughtful. And even if it just strikes, and I say even with a massive big capital, bolded, underlined, whatever font you like that can yell, make them smile. Get an emotional response out of the communication with the person. Sure as shit not going to get it by sending someone an email. Next Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay? So send them a letter. Send them a box. Now, this is a cool one. Get a box that's maybe 2 foot by 2 foot. Okay? Stick another box in it that's 1 foot by 1 foot. And then maybe stick another box in there that's maybe 4 inch by 4 inch. And in that, have the Starbucks card.
That's
something that's a bit humorous. Or, get a DVD, and write on it, this is my favorite movie. Just wanted to send it to you. Just something. You can go down to Target or Best Buy or Dollar Save Store or whatever, and you can pick up cheap-ass DVDs that are from like the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, these iconic movies for $2 because no one buys them anymore. They're all on Netflix. And you can put a little scribble on there and just send it to someone. Just something that's a little bit humorous.
That is just there's so much powerful advice in this, Steve, and I hope as you're watching, as you're listening, you're jotting notes, and you want to re-listen to this show, you can go to growthtofreedom.com/40. You want to learn more of Steve's strategies, go to uglysims.com. Now, Steve, You said something here that I thought was really, I mean, there's so much wisdom in what you're sharing, but one idea here that I want to really jump into, expensive versus thoughtful. I mean, you even talk about that. I've heard a few of your interviews. Of course, you've done several 10-minute talks with Genius Network on our platform. Expensive versus thoughtful not only applies to get the attention of the people outside of your world, celebrities, big figures, but also right at home where it matters most, with your kids, with your wife, with your spouse. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of those strategies, this idea of expensive versus thoughtful. Maybe, Steve, you could think of share another 3 or 4 of these incredible, grabber ideas that people can use to, have more fun in your life. I mean, I think our theme for today is you want to build more fantasy, you want to build more fun, build more adventure. Number 1, lighten up, for Christ's sakes. Number 2, have a sense of humor about things. I mean, life is serious enough. I mean, take it all serious. But at the end of the day, we can all lighten up and learn a lot from Steve, what he does. I mean, it's obvious why you have the success that you do, Steve, with the people that you meet. I mean, you can't help but walk away just having a smile on your face when people are around you. I mean, Matt here in our studio is laughing. I mean, Ramon, our engineer, is laughing. Just having a good time. And imagine what you could do if you could learn Steve's strategies to help install a good time in everything you do. When we come back, we're going to talk about more strategies on how to do that, how to build a bigger future, build more adventure and fun in your life with Steve Sims of uglysims.com. More on Growth to Freedom right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com, and I've got a question for you today. Do you want more adventure in your life, more fun? You want to attract A-level people to your world? You want to have better relationships? You want to build a bigger future with a high-profile list of connections, contacts, potentially celebrities, athletes, and more. Well, the gentleman that we've got today is of uglysims.com. His name is Steve Sims. He's the owner, founder of Bluefish.com, which is a high-level concierge service working with high-profile athletes, celebrities. He basically makes fantasies come true. If you've ever seen the show Fantasy Island, Mr. Rourke, where they would make fantasies come true, well, Steve is the 21st century's Mr. Rourke. He's also, I mean, you ever see the movie The Game? What pops up for me, Steve, there was that movie The Game with Sean Penn and Michael Douglas, right, where they put this whole event on over the course of, I think it was a week. It was a birthday celebration, and it was all choreographed. Well, you do that kind of crazy stuff. You've sent people down diving for the Titanic. You've sent people to visit an international space station, hang out with Branson. I mean, just so many cool things. But guess what? You got to open those doors to be able to have that. You've got over 18 years of doing this. You used to be the concierge for the Black Card and American Express, and then I don't know if I can say, I think I can say it, but you may not be able to. You fired them, and you wanted to make your service more, I guess, appealing to the right type of clientele and so on. So maybe I've got that wrong and out of context. But nonetheless, you're a guy who has fun doing what you do. You love to have adventure. You love to provide that. You love to make people smile at the end of the day. So talk about one of the engineers here, our video producer, Matt, asked a great question. He said, why ugly? Why ugly Sims? And I have a good context, but I'd love for you to share that with our audience and also Matt here.
Well, one of the funny things is that someone used to, joke about me being ugly, but then I realized that everything I did was ugly. And someone once said to me, the perfection's in the imperfections. And so everyone tries to polish things, and they spend hours checking over the grammar and the commas and making sure the copy's accurate. Hey, there's a place for that. But when someone sends something and it's got a spelling mistake, or someone sent an article and they've ripped it out and there's a rough rip down the side, you take more notice because you can relate to things that are more real. And everything now has become so artificially enhanced. Photoshop, you can't trust any picture you see in Facebook, messaging, on the news. You can see a guy fly through the sky every single night on every single program, and you don't bat an eyelid because we've become so overtaken by this artificial life that we just go, yeah. So when you see something that's authentic and raw and ugly, it literally triggers something in you, and you hold it. One of the things, people get these letters, and they're so hell-bent on folding a letter so clinically that you could cut yourself on the fold.
Yes.
But if you just, fold it over and shove it in, and it's still a little bit squishy, you know that someone's done that. There's not a fulfillment center in Miramar or somewhere. So you just know that that's real. And if you handwrite, not print, handwrite on the letter, you can feel the indentation of that pen. You know it's real. And people go, "Oh, I can't bite an envelope when the letter's in it because then the lean will go through onto the letter, and that's not right." Excuse me, but fuck it. Do exactly that. Put the letter in the envelope, write the envelope address on the front. You want that person to know that you personally have taken the time to do this. And any element that shows that it's a real person and it's not perfect, here's another tip. The stamp that goes in the top right-hand corner of the envelope. Squish the thing. Turn it slightly so it's not perfectly aligned with the corner of the envelope, so that it's slightly off kilt. Again, people won't they won't notice it, but they will react to it that that's a real person and put that stamp on there, and they know it's real because it's not perfect.
Not perfect. So raw, authentic, and you know what? It's about being you at the end of the day. And you know what I hear you saying, Steve, again, it comes back by using and being imperfect. It creates the perfect opportunity. You're real, you're raw, you're genuine at the end of the day. I know one of the things you talked about at our Genius Network event, right? You talked about the power of the simplicity of a handwritten card or a handwritten note and how that gets more attention than sending these professional emails and all the goofy stuff that goes on out there, right? And at the end of the day, we want to show you how to be able to do just that. We want to show you how to get more adventure, more fun. So when we come back, we're going to talk about more tips and strategies on how to open the doors to quality relationships, celebrities, and high-profile people with Steve Sims of uglysims.com on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Transformation, inspiration, leadership. What if you had the ability to go out there and open one door to a profile relationship? Ramon, our audio engineer, was sharing a story about how someone wanted to have Tom Hanks on their show. And they had heard on Twitter that he collected typewriters, sent them a typewriter with a note, and ultimately Tom Hanks went on their show, and it took a little show and helped it become a big show because of just being thoughtful. And, Steve, you brought it up earlier, and I think it's such a powerful idea, which is expensive versus thoughtful. Now, how do you put this in place with what you do at bluefish.com, with uglysims.com, and maybe even at home for our viewers and our listeners?
Here's a question to your viewers and listeners. When was the last time you wrote a member of the family a letter? We find it so often that people don't do it. They live with them every day. Hey, they wake up in the morning, I love you, hon, I love you, babe. You do all of that stuff. But when was the last time actually someone did turn around and say, I love you by writing it in a note? Now, we went away, and you were there with us. We were in Arizona. Now, I was away for a 2-night event. It was a 2-night event. Now, of course, you get there one night before, my flight was laid over, so basically I'm away from home for 3 days. Now, I'm getting prepared a couple of days before I leave to get the most out of the event, and when I come back, I'm in my office going through all what I've learned and what I've got to action. So even though you're only away at a 2-day event, you're actually out of your headspace for 7 to 10 days.
Yes.
And you're distracted. You're focused on something else. Getting the hotel stationery while you're away and just write a little note on there saying, babe, I just wanted to send you this note to say thank you. If it wasn't for you being who you are, I wouldn't be able to be here doing what I'm doing. Just be clear, I love you. And it doesn't have to be massive. Again, simple, fold in an envelope and send. You're not trying to get anything. You're just trying to reconfirm that this relationship is that important to you that it's on your mind even when you're heavily focused on doing something. Send a note to your son. You just need to be aware how proud I am of your son. And even to a client, I've gone to, and again, keep the humor in things. I've gone to a bar, I've got the bar tab, I've written a note on the back of the bar tab, got back to my hotel or got back to my office, sent it to a client saying, hey, had a great night tonight, had loads of drinks, thought of you during it, bought an extra whiskey with you in mind.
That's great.
The bar tab showing how much drinks you've been having. just a little thing like, and then you get a phone call. And how better does it get? You get a phone call from your client or from your friend going, oh, well, thanks for drinking without me. But, they come at you with that smile on their face, and they're like, thanks for reaching out. And I'm very fortunate. I get to travel all over the world, and I send letters from Poland or from Russia or from Germany or from Rome saying, hey, I had a great meal tonight. Would have been better fun if I'd have had you there. But hey, I ordered an extra dessert in your memory. Here's the bar tab, or here's the menu from the restaurant, or here's the cocktail of the day. Just something silly. Here's my ticket from the tram I took in Switzerland. Just something. And when they get that letter, unlike an email, when you get a letter, because most of your bills are now paid online and you go paperless, all the stuff you get in your mailbox, which is becoming less and less and less, are vouchers, a menu for a new Chinese restaurant, and a letter, a handwritten letter from someone that cared.
From someone that cares, from a guy who cares, from a guy who helps people care, who also helps turn those dreams into reality because he cares. And, Steve, so share with our listeners, our viewers, how people can reach you and maybe one or two of the big things that you're working on here in the future.
Well, we're actually working on doing a great event next year with Sir Elton John around the Oscars. We've got a couple of big events going on next year in London. We're doing a couple of big parties in Dallas, Texas, and in New York through Bluefish. You can get hold of me on Twitter and on Facebook. Look up Ugly Sims. You can also go on Facebook and follow us on the Bluefish and Bluefish Group, which is all the spectacular stuff. But if you want to hear my opinions, my rants, what I do in marketing, you can subscribe to our newsletter on uglysims.com.
uglysims.com. I want to encourage you to go visit Steve, learn more about all the cool things he's doing at uglysims.com. Go check out Bluefish, by the way. As a Genius Network member, I'm fortunate, our members are fortunate to get access to his concierge service. You've helped create these incredible experiences for people, and that's what you do. You create an experience. You're the experience guy. You're the authentic experience guy. What would you say for you? I want to ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. What's one thing you need help with right now, and what's one thing you'd like to do in the next 12 to 24 months that would be fascinating for you?
All right, what do I want done for me? I want people to start caring more. They think by yelling a message, by pushing out a tweet or a Facebook, that's actually communicating. It's not. I want people to wake up one day and realize communication is when two people share ideas, passions, thoughts, feelings. It's not me shouting a message at you going, I'm eating steak tonight, I'm showing off, I'm wonderful, you're not. So I want people to get back to proper communication. And what do I want that would be really cool within the next 12 to 24 months? To be blessed enough to continue to do what I'm doing.
That's powerful. So I have a question. When you were in high school, Steve, what were you known for?
Like most entrepreneurs, probably getting in trouble. I couldn't find my spot. So it took a few years for me to find out where my place was in this world.
What do you want to be known for when it's all said and done?
He's ugly, but he keeps his word.
Ugly, but he keeps his word. What do you want to be known for right now?
He's ugly, but he keeps his word.
What are some of the ritual? You have 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
What are their ages, just to give context to our listeners and viewers?
I've got Henry, who's awesome. He's 18 years old. I got Lily, who's brilliant. She's 16, and I got George, that's just exceptional. He's 11.
Awesome. So I think you know this. I created this show actually as a footprint and a thumbprint for my kids that, rather than talking about, hey, you can do this, I wanted to show them, how you could meet some of the best, smartest people in the world, thought leaders like you, visionaries like you, and just do it while at the same time inspiring them with all the incredible wisdom that's available. What are some of the rituals or practices you work to instill or install or work with your kids on a regular basis? Talk about those.
I actually keep them involved in my communications, and I will actually bring them in, and if I'm in a car, they will listen to a client call, but I will bring them into a proposal, and I will say, what do you think of this proposal? And I can be doing something that's, surrounding the Vatican, or as you said earlier about taking over the Accademia in Florence with Michelangelo's David, and I'll ask my 11-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old, how can I make this better? What do you think of this? And I want their input. And when I'm having a conversation with a client and they've been able to listen in on the phone call or on the conference call, I'll say to them, how do you think that went? Well, what can I have done to make that better? Do you think he likes me? Do you think we're going to get on? Do you think we're going to be able to do something together? And I want them to know, and we don't have long enough on this show, but the school system is broken. But anyone out there that's working has more education in their left finger that's usable that they should be sharing with our children. And I said to you earlier, I have not failed. I've just educated myself on a million ways not to do things. I want to give that cheat sheet to my kids so they don't get as many scars. They're going to get their own scars, and I want to teach them it's perfectly acceptable to fall down. It's not acceptable not to get back up.
Not acceptable not to get back up. I mean, that is such powerful, simple advice and so true, isn't it? I mean, so many of us as parents want to shelter our kids, kind of almost, hover over them to make sure they don't make those mistakes or don't burn themselves or don't cut themselves or fall down, get hit, get knocked down. And you know what I found, like you know what? They need to go through those experiences. Otherwise, we're handicapping the heck out of them overall. And so, Steve, I mean, how long have you been married?
Oh, God, forever. I met my wife when she was 16 and I was 17. We got married shortly after that.
What is the best piece of advice you could give someone to a long-term marriage that works and is productive and healthy?
Invest in it and don't take it for granted.
Don't take it for granted. I mean, simple thing. I mean, what if you just applied what Steve's been sharing about the letter approach, writing it to your family, writing it to your spouse, writing it to your son, your daughter, right? Some of your key clients, right? This is a great time of year to be able, any time of year is a great time to do it. But right now, this is the season of gratitude overall. So would it be worth if you went out and just simply touched somebody by saying thank you and let them know sincerely what you're thankful for, right? There's nothing worse than getting that generic, oh, thank you, or you're awesome. Well, tell me what I'm awesome about, right, Steve? I mean, you're the master at this.
Exactly. Get real with it.
That's it. Get real with it. So one last time, go visit uglysims.com. You can find him on Bluefish at bluefish.com. He's got Blue Cause, by the way, if you want to learn more about how he's making a dent in charity causes and raising $500,000. And there's a lot of, I'll call it unscrupulous companies that claim they're raising money for charity, but Steve's company is really I mean, guy, you're just a fascinating guy. I could literally spend 2 more, 3 more, 4 more, 5 more hours with you talking about what's one last thing I should have asked you that I didn't.
No, you've been bang on. I don't think you've missed a heartbeat. It's been brilliant.
Awesome. So there you have it. You want more adventure, you want more fun, you want more freedom, right? You want to make a difference not only at home but also to get the attention of the A-listers. Follow some of the simple advice that Steve's been sharing. Steve, I just want to say thank you, my friend. It's been a pleasure and honor to have you on the show. I'll make sure to send this over to you so you can make it available. And, man, I just appreciate you in our life and Genius Network, and I look forward to, I'd love to have you on again, and I know you've got a new book coming out too. I'd love to help promote the book and get the message out there because you certainly have a great message to share, and I think we all can learn from you, which is start caring more at the end of the day. So thank you, Steve.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon. So there you go. I mean, Steve Sims, he's a philanthropist. He's a visionary. He's a thought leader. He's raw. He's real. He's authentic. And you know what? the imperfection is the perfection. And something as simple as just going out, people don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. People don't want to know that you're understood. They want to feel like they're understood. And I mean, Steve's core underlying message, his core underlying theme is all about how to do the little things that do matter most. You want to get the attention of people. If you want things to be different, do things different. Timing right now with technology. I mean, do you know people that are overwhelmed with the inbox of email, of Twitter, of Facebook? I'll call it false intimacy appearing real, right? It's the FIAR, FIAR, right? False intimacy appearing real. You want to be different? Do some things different. Start with a handwritten note. Start with some of the techniques. You can listen to this show at growthtofreedom.com/40 to go back and extract all the different wisdom. You can get access to the show notes, some of the best tips that Steve was able to share. Some of my favorite were just clever ways to get attention. Like, something as simple as a $1 or $2 DVD from the 80s or 90s or recent with a handwritten note, right? Or a magazine article that you pull out, or taking a big box with a smaller box, a smaller box inside, wrapping that up in a nice package and delivering it to somebody. So much wisdom to be able to share today. And you know what? You want to be able to transform, inspire, lead? Well, become a person of transformation, inspiration. Be a 10 times person, not a 10%. But you've got it in you. You deserve it. You're the best. You're a winner. And this time of year, I want to say thank you for being a part of the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of Growth to Freedom and our Growth to Freedom family. If this show inspired you in some way, I hope you'll repeat after me. I'm a winner. I'm a champion. I'm the best. You deserve it, and you do. You can get a recap of the show at growthtofreedom.com/40, growthtofreedom.com/40. Email us. If you got questions, hit us up at info@growthtofreedom.com. I want to challenge you. Go out. Take the first step, apply some of what Steve's been sharing, what we're sharing in the show. We'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com. Make it a great week. Seize the day and go transform someone's life today because it matters. Enjoy your week.